Hey everyone, welcome back to Interesting by Design. Boy, do we have a great episode for you today. I have a chamber president with us, Travis, and he's going to tell us all about his experience about becoming a chamber president and being a chamber of commerce president. Travis, thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Um, First off, I want to know, who is Travis?
Who is Travis? Well, I've just a regular person. Been living in the Casselberry area probably close to 20 years. I live here, work out here, hang out here. I feel like it's my home away from home. I'm a mortgage broker. I've been doing mortgage financing almost 20 years. I have my own company.
Mm-hmm.
I got a little boy. He's 2 years old. I got married about a year and a half ago. I'm 44 now, but just starting my life a little bit late, but just enjoying the heck out of it.
Okay, that's awesome. My question, I guess, comes from the fact that you're in mortgage work. When you started your own company, did that inspire you to join the Chamber of Commerce, or were you already a member of the chamber and then started your company?
Well, I wrote a business plan. So when I started my company, they were giving out a grant, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I had this program and I started punching everything in there. And one question that kept on going over and over is community work, community work, community work. And I put it on my business plan. So at the moment I opened up my business, I started going to the chamber meetings.
Mm-hmm.
It was close to, where the office was. And then they asked me to be on the board. And a couple of years later, they asked me to be on the chamber. And, this is most of my volunteer work, most of my community work is done through the chamber. I try to keep it as close to the Casselberry area as possible.
Okay, so it's safe to say that initially when you got involved in a chamber, it was like, hey, this is part of my business plan. This is an important component to be involved in the community. Before we get too much into your leadership role, I'm just trying to help give people that are listening in for the first time some idea of, was the chamber beneficial to you before you took the leadership role on?
Well, one thing I've always done is, there's a few like pillars in your life, and you have to contribute to each one of them to
Mm-hmm.
just have complete happiness, right? It's finances, family, health, education, and community is on there. So what I've found is giving back,
Mm-hmm.
doing stuff that's volunteer work. It's it completes the cycle, and I've been not that I've been happier, but things have been going well, and it's it fills all the pillars. So the community work is something that helps give you the total picture of happiness.
Okay. I'm guessing based upon that answer, the answer is yes. You have had that well-rounded experience. What was your progression to becoming the chamber president? Because I don't believe they just said, "Hey, Travis, you have a nice smile. You're going to be chamber president this year." There probably was some sort of progression in your roles to get there. What was that? What did that look like for you?
I mean, ever since I joined, like it's part of what I want to do. So I've been involved, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether I was a board member, where I was a vice president, whether I was a president, I was getting involved in everything. And I guess the board members and the people noticed, and they asked me to join with them. So I mean, I always try and be consistent. I always try to go to all the events. I always try to speak highly. I just do my best
Mm-hmm.
and work my way up the ranks. And now I'm the president.
Nice. Well, I guess the other question I have is, when you joined the chamber, was it kind of like an unspoken goal? Like, one day I want to be the president of the chamber. Was that ever something in your mind when you first joined the Chamber of Commerce?
I didn't even really know what I was getting into. I wanted to join. I knew it was close. I knew it was in the community. I didn't know anybody at the chamber originally. And I just went by myself. I kept on going every month by myself. I still knew really nobody. I knew one of the commissioners. I was at the food and wine. I did the kickball. I participated in all the events. And I guess it went through my involvement, helped me progress.
Okay. So let's fast forward. You were invited on by the board to be a board member. What was your conversation like? Because you did mention you have a young family, two little young boys. What was your wife's reaction to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to be a major leader in this organization. What was her reaction to that?
Well, I mean, you remember, everybody works together as a team. So it's not like I do everything,
Okay.
and they know they have a little boy. I just do my best, and when everybody in the chamber is doing their best and the board members, things are very easy, things are very smooth. So it's not, it's not tedious, it's not a hard, it's easy. I enjoy it. It's not stressful. I'm not turning gray over it. We're having fun. You started going. It's a good time, and I
Oh,
do my
no.
best. Does their best. We all work together as a team, and things usually go pretty smooth.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. So that team dynamic, was that something the board members talked to you about when you got on the board? Or like, what was the conversations and the fireside chats or the mentorship of the senior board members to you when you first joined the board? What did that look like?
Well, I mean, the first thing I did was I observed in the beginning.
Okay.
I saw that everybody was working together as a team. So when they approached me and we talked and they explained how it was, I believed them because I've witnessed it. Sometimes when you do something like, hey, it's easy, do this, and then you end up doing it, it ends up being a chore. But everybody does work together as a team. They always do every year. And it's, what they told me is exactly what happens. It wasn't misleading at all.
Nice. So between the time you became chamber president and you were a board member, what roles did you serve in as a board member before president?
Well, I started just off as just a regular board member. I go to the meetings, write some notes, do what I can, and then last year I was a vice president. Mm-hmm. So it's all similar stuff when everybody works together as a team, and then every year there's a new president. So they asked me last year, hey, do you want to be the 2022 president? I said, sure. I would love to help out.
Okay.
And that's where we're at.
Nice. So did the vice president role help you in being prepared to be the chamber president, or do you feel like being the president now, you could have just been a board member and jumped to president?
I mean, I always recommend be familiar with what you're doing. Mm-hmm. I was with the chamber 4 years before I became a president. I was familiar with the events, familiar how they run. And if you have exposure and you know how things work, it makes it a lot easier. So just to jump, you can't just jump to be president and you set yourself up for doing a lot of work.
Okay, that's cool. I guess there's a lot of chamber of commerces across the country and even internationally. So some of the people that might be tuning in from other places, not just in the given city of Casselberry, which we both enjoy so much. How is the election process actually function compared to possibly what they may acknowledge and experience? What was it like? Was it a slate board? Was it the general membership voting for you? Could you take us through that election process?
Well, I think it's, they talk, they go over a couple of candidates, they reach out to, see who's interested. The board has to vote on it, but mm-hmm. usually before they ask you, you have a good idea, that they've already spoken about, the position. So it wasn't, I wasn't there for the voting, mm-hmm. But, I think they all talked about it and they all voted me in, towards the end of the year. And everybody was on the same page. And, they say they do the same thing this year. When you're talking about different people you want to be in the board, everybody talks about it, beforehand, before they reach out to the candidate.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is, just to understand this, because I know every chamber of commerce is slightly different. In this chamber of commerce, you get onto the board, and then the board members vote their elected officers inside of the board. It's not like the general membership of the chamber votes for president. It's like the board members do, or does the general membership vote for open board seats, or is that kind of an appointment where the board members sort of say, we're going to appoint you? Because I've seen and I've heard, and I just want to get from this experience here, what your thoughts are.
Well, the regular members, to the best of my knowledge, they don't vote on the board members. It's all done with the board. It's a smaller chamber.
Okay.
And, most of the board has been around, for years. Sometimes members come and go. They're not familiar with the people. They've only seen them for a few months. So usually it's, it's the seasoned members, aka the board members, that, have the say in it.
Okay. That's interesting. So we're going to fast forward a bit, because I'm glad you kind of shared that. So it gives some people a little organizational structure. I did actually do a few other interviews. That's what I was trying to say a moment ago with other people from other chambers. Um, and it just kind of gives more of a baseline understanding of how it works in this city chamber. So you become the president of the Chamber of Commerce. What was it like? What did it feel like when you were elected? Did you feel different? Did you have anything special happen, or was it just like, okay, just another day, still Travis, still rocking and rolling? What was it? What did it feel like to you?
Well, I used it as an opportunity to work on what I needed to work on, right? I knew a lot of the events, I knew how the chamber worked, but I wasn't 100% comfortable with my public speaking, which I made it a goal to get, I'm going to become a chamber president. I'm going to get better at public speaking. I wasn't strong at making PowerPoints and luncheon agendas and all, but I made that my goals as well. Like, I'm going to be the president, I'm going to do all these things for the chamber, but I'm also going to get better at my public speaking. I'm going to get better at planning presentations. I'm going to get better at structuring agendas. So, it's, I help out a lot with the chamber, but also, the chamber's helped me back as well. So I feel comfortable speaking in public now, and there's goals that I have that I've actually, accomplished as well, which was nice.
Okay, that was one of my questions that I had. Is like, as chamber president, you probably came in with a checklist of things you wanted to try to accomplish in your year as president. What were I know you're still the president of the chamber. What were they? What are they? Just so someone else somewhere else might be like, hey, that's a really good idea. I should add that to my things I might want to accomplish in my year as a chamber president. Would you be comfortable sharing that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, number one, help local businesses grow, right? Okay. That's what the chamber's there for. Get to know people, help them grow, help other businesses know about businesses. Number two is the events. The events are great, so try and promote the events, try and create the events. Everybody works together as a team, but the more people that attend the events, the more revenue that the chamber makes, the more we can give back to the food pantry, to the community, fountains, so on and so forth. And then, number three is just as strong is new members. So try and get new members, try and make the events as memorable and as profitable as possible, and help local businesses grow.
Interesting. I asked that question because one of my past interviews was on leadership development skills, and there was some tie over to what you just said and what that interview had actually covered. So I find it interesting. In reference to multi-year things you're trying to achieve, did your past president that was outgoing, or 2 years past president outgoing, sort of say, look, we're trying to get this accomplished, it's a multi-year goal? Was there anything like that you were aware of, or did the past presidents get everything they achieved and you had a pretty much a clean slate going into your year?
I mean, I pretty much inherited a well-oiled machine. So Tim was a president, Kinsey was a president. I mean, I stepped into a role where it's been very, it's been run a good way, and there's not a lot of it. I didn't need to reinvent anything. I just had to go along with what was already going. And every year the we get busier. The events are getting busier like the food and wine was busier this year than last year. So I feel like every year things are heading in the right direction across the board.
That's nice. I guess the other thing that ties into that question is we're coming out of a pretty big pandemic, but it's not a state secret. COVID was pretty catastrophic in our communities to how we did business and the ways we did business. What's your impression from the time you were a board member, and you kind of hinted at it, to now as president? How did COVID affect the chamber? And in reference to your leadership style, how are you handling it now?
I mean, in 2020, most of everything was done remotely. So board meetings, everything was pretty much done on a Zoom call. And then the event, when the events opened back up, it was a little bit slower, but I think people want to hang out with other people face to face these days. People want, it's hot now in Florida, but in the beginning of the year, people want out, people want to be, seen, they want to go to the events, they just want to participate. So this is a good little community. And, everybody always, is around doing the events and all that. So I don't know if that answers the question, but.
No, it did. It's. I think you nailed it just straight away. I want to step back in time a little bit, and my question is in reference to: um, did you grow up in Casselberry, or did you grow up somewhere else?
I grew up in Long Island, New York. So I graduated high school there. Um, Moved down to Florida when I was 18. Started
Hmm.
going to college. I used to live in the Waterford Lakes area
Hmm.
back when it was only the post office.
That was a long time
And,
ago.
oh, and then in 2003, I believe, I moved over to the Harbors in Castleberry, and I never left this area. So that's
Okay.
almost 20 years. I lived here
So,
longer than I lived in my hometown.
so in college, what was your major in college?
Business.
Business. Do you feel your major in college helped you when you stepped onto the board? Some of those academic aspects, or do you feel like I just bad? I'm a grinder. What's your perception on that?
Honestly, what I learned the most from was back in the day, I used to sell Yellow Pages. Remember the Yellow Pages ads?
Yes.
So I would go to businesses, and I had so many businesses that I would work. I would learn about the business. What do you do? What's your marketing? How do you make money? What's your business model? So I would do that for years, and I would learn how different business. I would learn so much about every different type of business,
Mm-hmm.
and I just apply that to everything.
Really? So,
Marketing, how businesses make money, and it helped me with how to just see a business owner and right away I almost understand what they do and how they make money.
gotcha. So your sales background helped you kind of be almost prepared in a way for the requirements of being a leader of the chamber. Um, Speeding up a little bit, when did you decide to get in the mortgage industry? And could you tell a little bit about that?
Well, for a long time I worked. I remember Eckerd Drugstore.
Yes.
Remember that drugstore? I was working there, as a teenager, and to be honest with you, I worked there a little bit too long. I was getting complacent, and I know mortgages. Few people were doing mortgages. My buddy, got into the mortgage industry, worked for a couple months, told me about it.
Mm-hmm.
It showed me one of his paychecks, and I was like, this guy's an idiot. I said, I could do that.
Okay.
So I literally stalked that company until they gave me a chance and hired me
Mm-hmm.
with very little experience. I had my license already, and within a couple months, I was a top producer. And that was it. I never wanted to go back to work in retail again, and I made sure I gave 110%. And here I am. I've worked for banks, direct lenders, other brokers. Here I am with my own shop, and it's probably the best move I've ever did.
Nice. Uh, so I'm trying to tie a couple things together in reference to your growth as a business owner. Do you attribute some of the actions inside of the chamber of helping you as an individual business owner, like become more successful? Like, I mean, could you give a testimonial of why someone should join a chamber anywhere they live, any community they live in? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, number one is you got to do something with the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's statistically proven that giving back, doing good things, it contributes to your happiness. So that alone, that alone should be a reason. Number two is you meet people in the area, right? Here's where you live, here's where you work. Now you're running into other people that own businesses. You're running into members of the government. You're running into the parks and rec. And you just get to know everybody in the area.
Gotcha.
And when people need your help, they're top of mind and they know about the business.
I see. Uh, I guess that's really cool. Like, because there's probably someone that might be watching this and may now get inspired because of your words, even if they're not in the Castleberry community and they're like somewhere far away to say, maybe I should do the Chamber of Commerce in my area.
And can I add one more thing
Of course,
that
yeah,
goes
yeah, absolutely.
the more places you show up online, the better, right? If you're a
Mm-hmm.
member of the Casselberry Chamber of Commerce and some client puts your name in there, that's another place you're going to show up on the top page of Google
Mm-hmm.
as a member of the chamber. And they may not even be looking for it, but it helps you show up.
I totally agree with that 100%. Uh, in reference to like your greatest moment, because you do a lot of things for the community, what's your greatest moment as the president of the chamber so far that impacted the community?
Man, that they did a scholarship for the kids
Mm-hmm.
and I had to speak there. I did a little bit of research, but I wasn't 100% sure of what it took to get these scholarships. This is, for the kids going to college. And when I got there, I was listening to what everybody did and what their accomplishments were, and I was blown away. And it was an absolute pleasure giving money back, to kids for college, for books, for whatever.
Okay. Was it like a specific skill set? Could you expand upon what the scholarships were going towards?
Just college, whatever college they wanted to go to. These were seniors, and they had, excellent grades, excellent community service, just, top notch across the board. And people were competing. A, they were competing, but B, they were excellent humans.
Okay.
So it was good to see, just kids in Casselberry doing great stuff and moving on and sharing with others, and hopefully, influencing others to be better people.
Awesome.
So I got to witness that. I got to speak. We gave away, checks for the kids, and it felt real good.
Awesome. Now, you mentioned earlier that you were wanting to become a stronger public speaker. How many people were present at this event? Was it 100? Was it 50? What was the
Probably
number?
50.
50?
It was 50. There's a lot of kids, a lot of parents. So
Okay.
I was just excited to see the parents, because I'm a new parent, and I could only imagine how excited they are that their kid busted their tail and won and accomplished something where a lot of kids were not able. A lot of kids tried. Many competed. You won. That's how life is, right? And it's good to see the kids, continue, even though the odds are against them, work hard and be successful and see success.
No, yeah, that makes total sense. And the reason why I asked that question is, like, you were growing as a person. Since you're growing as a person, what has been the largest public group you spoke to so far as the chamber president?
Probably that one, 50 people.
Okay.
I speak too much at the golf tournament. There were more people there, but also, not everybody was paying attention. At this event, everybody was locked in.
Really?
They were listening to everything that everybody said, and it was just, it was inside, and people couldn't wander off.
So what did it feel like, because you're a new public speaker, to have all those eyes on you? What was your...
You know how it feels, man. You know how it feels. It's terrifying.
Terrifying? Okay.
The microphone was broken, and at the end of the day, what the past president always says, nobody knows that you're making a mistake except for you. So just keep on rolling with it.
Well, that's true.
So, after a few words, it's always, you get more and more comfortable. The more you practice, the better you get.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're 1,000% right. I guess the other question that's going to my mind is, you have 2 young children. Do you feel like you're setting a legacy for them in reference to...
And it's one boy who's 2, so no 2 yet, but...
I'm sorry. My apologies. One
all
child. In reference to that, do you feel like you're building a legacy for him in reference to being the chamber president, like down the line when he gets older? Do you think you're setting a foundation for him for success?
Absolutely.
How so?
I mean, everything you do, just how you act, what you do, how you dress, what you say. Kids listen. They listen and repeat everything you do. So if I can say good things and do good things and hope that he repeats me, that's a win.
Okay. Do you feel like networking with some of the business leaders helped out as well? Like, I know at some of the events we have like school officials show up. Do you feel like having the relationship with those school officials is useful? I
feel I've learned so much about the school district. The answer is yes, absolutely.
Okay. And what did you learn about the school district?
Just how it runs, the different opportunities they have. They can go to different schools if they want, the different programs, like the trade programs, and there's a lot more in this area going on in the school district than just going into a class.
Gotcha. I guess the next question that I have is in reference to legacy building, to build off of the last one. You're now chamber president. As you know, the year is half over. It probably just felt like you just got started, and we're in June, end of June. You have 6 months left in your term. What is your strategy for getting the next group of leaders ready? Like, what are your thoughts? What are you going to do to make them successful?
I mean, just the way the board is, whoever steps into my position next year is going to do a great job. A, because it's a well-oiled machine, and it pretty much runs itself. And B, anybody that would be considered it has, significant experience.
Okay. So, like, that's interesting. So, the board gets together, do you make a recommendation who you think should be the next chamber president, or does the board have like an open conversation at a board meeting and say this is who we think
Probably in
is...
a few months we'll have an executive board meeting to start, and
Mhm.
then talk about it that way, and then it'll trickle down.
Okay. In reference to legacy building in another way, are you adding any new events or activities into the chamber to say, I did that, this was something I started in my year? Um,
Well, and listen, I don't like the word I ever. I always say we or us. So we've already added, it was a putting networking event where you learn how to putt, and you get instructions, and they have some food and some appetizers. Another thing that we're working on is maybe doing like a painting and wine in the Oviedo Mall. So we have a couple of new events that we're working on, a couple of new networking events that we're working on, and as well, just try to expand and get more attendance for all our existing events, like the food. Did you go to the food and wine last year?
I just became a new member, so I've just gotten involved the last few months, so I can't say that I did. So everything is kind of new for me. Um, so I'm kind of excited for the upcoming events that I can attend with my schedule. So I did not make it last year, though.
I recommend there's two things that blew me away.
Really?
Right? There's three things that made me want to get involved. One was the kickball, where I just recruited a bunch of friends. We had an absolute blast, right? Number two, have you ever been to the food trucks where they have live music at Lane Concord?
Not yet. I've been wanting to, with my daughter doing a couple of community organizations. I can only be at so many places at one time. But I keep on asking my family, let's go do this, let's go do this. And they're like, oh, but we have this going. So I'm like, okay, we're going to go camping instead. So
It's surprising, though. The park, Lake Concord, is very nice. Artists have contributed to art around it. It's on the water. You'd be surprised when you go there. At Christmas, it looks great with all the Christmas lights. So I was very surprised and impressed when I saw that. And then if you were to ever attend the food and wine, I can't even believe that many people know about it. I think they ran out of food last year. That's how many people went there. So it was a good time. So, but they're popular and they're impressive, and people usually go, and then the next year they go again and try and bring some friends. So that's another reason why things keep on growing.
Gotcha. Well, it sounds like you have a very humble leadership style and spirit. How has that positively impacted working with the other board members and the chamber members?
It makes life so much easier. If everybody says we and works together, it makes life smooth. So it's when one person puts their foot down and wants something a certain way, and nobody wants that way, and that's sometimes where the rift comes. But everybody on the board is excellent communicators, and they've been around the world. So that makes life so much easier.
So it's like it almost sounded like this chamber is almost like a Cadillac that you can drive with one finger on the steering wheel, because it's so good of a ride.
It's like an episode of Friends or Seinfeld. Everybody gets along, they laugh, they've been with each other for a while, and most of the time it's not like they're just members. You become friends with people. You get like, hey, here's your business, but you actually get to learn about somebody. Hey, they have kids, they do this, do that. So the people in the chamber, the people in the board, they're more than just a name or a name tag or a business card. You build relationships with people around, and that's what makes it fun as well.
Okay, that's fantastic. What do you see yourself doing after you get done with your year as chamber president? What's your next step inside of the chamber? Are you going to take a year off? Or are you going to be involved in a particular committee that you really, really enjoy? What do you see yourself progressing to?
I'll still be on the board as a past president and help whoever the current president is. That's usually how it works, and then the year after that, I'll probably go back on the board.
You're going to just be a board member the year following?
I don't see why not. I mean, I've been on the board for 4 or 5 years already. By then, it'll be my 6th year. Why? I know things are easier. The more you do things, the easier they are. So if everybody on the board was new, then things would get a little bit more complicated or more challenging.
Gotcha. So you see for the next 24 months, that's really cool. Like I was not expecting that answer at all. That you're like, I'm going to assist the new president to help them be successful, but then I'm going to stick around on the board and just not be like, look, I'm out. So you're gonna help the board members be successful. And,
I didn't join for personal gain, my friend. I joined to help businesses and get involved in the community. So it's not, I wasn't, the president's great. I'm glad they asked me to do it. I'm having a lot of fun. But if they didn't ask me to be president, I'd still be doing all the same things and contributing.
That's fantastic. A lot of times I've seen leadership that needed that title or that item for the wall is me, the me wall, I'd like to say, or the LinkedIn profile where they list every little bit. But I'm glad to see that you're more of a caring leader and you have a big perspective for the future. So you feel like you're kind of carrying on the legacy for the next generation of business leaders that come join the chamber. So you could see yourself being part of this chamber in 10 years from now, like in 2032, still being super involved.
Yeah, I mean, my business is here. I live here. Why would, what am I going to, what else am I going to do? I'm going to go drive and do something else, join a different chamber. It's, I enjoy what I do, and I see myself doing it for a while.
That's awesome. That last question that I asked, or last answer you gave as well, brings up a question. What advice could you give to a new member that potentially you see has potential of being a leader in the chamber? What advice can you give them to help get them ready to be a leader in the chamber?
Just get involved. Go to the luncheons. You go and you talk to people. You get involved. Everything works itself out. And that's my advice. Don't think a certain way. Don't expect a certain thing. Just get involved and see what happens.
Okay. That's fantastic. I guess, Travis, the other question that comes to my mind is, would you serve as chamber president again, or would you be like, look, I did it my one time, no more? What's your thought process on that?
If they need me, I'm always willing to help.
Okay.
So yes, I would. Definitely give everybody a chance. But if they need me, I'm here to help.
That's fantastic. That's great to hear. I know I'm asking a lot of questions because I'm trying to fill in a lot of blanks for people.
You asked me to be on an interview and a podcast. I had expectations of questions.
That you are a smart man. I guess what I'm trying to do is fill in the blanks because you are a leader, and I'm trying to show people the depth of your leadership style. And I think these little questions that you're answering in short, matter-of-fact ways are doing a fantastic job of that, because you're filling in so many blanks to help someone understand, like, okay, what is a good leadership style? What is a leadership style that works? And by sharing like that we style of like communication really kind of fills into that. Has there been like any times where you dealt with like big challenges so far as a board member, as a chamber president, that you had to overcome?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times it's people get, somebody will get COVID a day before, of an event or something, and I gotta do more speaking, or I gotta rewrite something, or I wasn't supposed to be here, but I'm gonna step in and I'm gonna help out. Just like we had a hobnob, and one person had a family emergency, one person got sick. We all got there a little bit earlier, picked up the slack, and knocked it out.
Yeah,
so, it's always something's always going on, but you always gotta adapt and figure it out.
Yeah, that's interesting that you shared that in that way. So, like, do you ever have to deal with like personality conflicts, or is the chamber that we're both part of, that you've been part of for much longer? How did you have to deal with that, or do you ever have to deal with that, where there's like sort of like a strong personality conflict?
I mean, it only, not really. No,
Really?
And when it comes to personality and how it goes, it's usually the person, not the person with the personality, but how the other person reacts. So most people are pros here. Anything that pops up, if somebody's stressed out a little bit, okay, you're stressed, what can we do to help? It's not, there's no yelling, arguing, there's never really any rips at all.
That's cool.
It makes it pretty easy.
That's great. I guess you're answering these questions in such an easy way that you're making this interview a breeze. Like the other question that I have is, In reference to growth, membership growth for the chamber, what is your, did you have like a numerical goal you want to try to get to by the end of your year? Or is it just like, hey, if we get one new member, I'm happy?
I like the percentages. I'd like to see 20% increase
Okay.
in new membership from the year before.
Wow. That's it. That's pretty bold and ambitious increase. Um, is it
It's
based?
not that big of a chamber. It's not, it's not like it's 40, 50 people. 20% is, I think we're doing well. I don't know the numbers in front of me, but you're a new member, right?
I am. I am a new member.
Doing
Yeah, yeah. So do you attribute, like, I know I've been in sales and you've been in sales, and for some years, like if you have a 2 to 3% increase over the previous year because you had such a strong year, that's realistic growth. Do you look at 20% increase based upon COVID, or
Yes.
yes?
Yes,
Okay.
100%. Using the momentum of people wanting to get out of the house. Also, we have, one of the commissioners on the board, right?
Mm-hmm.
Me and Ali with the membership. Let's go knock on doors, see what we can do to help businesses. Hey, here, he's the commissioner, and it makes life easy. You go there, you talk to the different businesses in the area, let them know about the chamber, and I think we've got some new members that way as well. Just being out.
Gotcha. So getting out there, being out there will help it. Did the chamber really experience a downturn in membership at the beginning of COVID? I think I know the answer, but I want you to answer it for me.
I mean, I'm sure. I'm sure it affected some businesses, and remember, every year there's a certain amount of businesses that move, that don't renew, or that aren't around anymore. And, it's always a moving target. But yeah, 2020, even some of 2021, definitely affected some members. People that weren't working for a while, they didn't, their businesses went out, or some people retired. It did. But we had some new members, but yeah, it wasn't, we didn't break a record in 2020, 2021 on membership.
No, that's totally cool. I asked that question because it gives some perspective, and I know a lot of community organizations I'm part of. We did see a decrease in attendance, and some of them that I'm actively part of. We stopped meeting for the health and safety of the members because no one really knew what was going on. It seems like every day the news media was saying something different, and we couldn't get a good gauge of like, is it safe to even get together and meet? And like,
I remember we were washing our groceries with Clorox in the beginning. So I mean, it's just a matter of trying to figure out what's going on.
yeah. I had a friend of ours that actually left their groceries out to sit for a day before they even brought it in the house. And like one person decided to go the direction of having delivered groceries by one of those mobile trucks that deliver it to your house. So it's pretty incredible the transition from one thing to another. In reference to like the pandemic, it seems like the pandemic did affect the chamber, but it sounds like it has such a positive effect now. Being active with the community, do you have a lot of people from the community talk to you about the pandemic in the chamber, or is that not really a conversation?
I mean, everybody talks about the pandemic and what it did to them. Mm-hmm. Every person. So it's not, everybody, it's not something that gets repeated all the time, but I'm sure every single person has heard some type of, it's affected everybody.
Could you tell me about a time in the community where you dealt with a business owner that the chamber helped that had a bad reaction in the pandemic?
I mean, there was somebody that would help with membership. Her name was Pat, and there was a new school that was starting for children, and it was trying to open up in the middle of the pandemic. And I wasn't personally involved, but I know Pat helped them a lot. Mm-hmm. And when they came and they joined the chamber, they got their plaque, and they thanked Pat from the chamber for everything. Like really? She would stop in there once. She helped get the business off the ground, get the name out there. And gotcha. And I was blown away. I didn't even know that she was working that hard, and it was good to see.
Gotcha. Like I asked that question because there's so many value-oriented impacts the chamber does in the community. Like I think we could talk for at least an hour just on that alone. I guess in reference to, you mentioned the scholarship before. What aspect of the community impact, like you said, you did things for food collection. Uh, how does that make you and your wife and your family feel, like doing that for the community?
It feels good, of course. Helping feels good, right?
Okay.
Giving back feels good.
All
It's
right.
almost, you're helping somebody, but it's almost selfish because it makes you feel, so my wife and I, we learn a lot about the area, right? There's a member that I learned who's Christian Help, right? They help people from becoming homeless. So we like to donate all our clothes to there whenever extra food. And we know Doug there, and there's people that line up that don't have any food, and it feels good to help give back.
Nice.
Clothes, food, help somebody get a job, donate some dress clothes, and you learn about all those different nonprofits and all those organizations through the chamber.
Awesome. I guess my favorite question I like to ask every individual that comes on my podcast is like, how did you know your wife was the one?
We've been friends 15 years before we even started dating.
Really?
Yeah, we met in the mortgage industry, and we were always in and out of relationships, so we never tried dating. And then just a couple of years ago, 3-4 years ago, I was single, she was single. We're like, let's give it a whirl, and here we are. We got a son, and we're happily married. And I know everything about her. She knows everything about me. No surprises, and we accept each other for who we are. So it's
That's
not like I'm gonna have like some weird thing that she doesn't know about. It's not like she's gonna have some. We know about everything. We've been around, each other for a long time.
so. There's pretty much no secrets. All the cats are out of the bag per se.
Yeah, she can't say I didn't know this about you, and I can't say I didn't know this about you. We already knew what we were getting into, and it makes life a lot easier.
Okay. Was she also from New York, Staten Island area or Long Island
She
area?
is from New Jersey.
Okay. Okay. What part of New Jersey?
She is from, I want to say, the Newark area.
Okay. I used to live in New Jersey as a young person, so that's why I asked.
And I may have the town wrong, but yeah, we'll talk about it next time I see you. I'll get the exact town from her.
No, no, it's all good. It's all good. It's just kind of no one's really from Florida. Everyone's from somewhere else. You're the
Hmm.
second guest that's been on the show that's basically said, "Yeah, I have a connection with New Jersey." I'm always like, "Really? Tell me about it." Um, so that's fantastic. I like asking that question because it kind of completes a bigger picture of who you are and tells a lot of people about everything that you're doing. We've been chatting for right around 45 minutes now, and I want to like offer you the opportunity before we wrap up to share your final thoughts um, about being a chamber president and like just let it all out. Anything that you could say to another chamber president somewhere else that might be struggling, what would that be?
I mean, number one, I would just sit back and remember your why. Why are you doing this? Well, are you doing this for this? Focus on your why. Why you're the president. Most of the time, it's a volunteer position, and you do it because you love it. So I would do that as number one. Number two, if you're struggling, write it down. Write it down. Write down what's good, what's bad, what you need to work on. Read it and adjust accordingly. Um, Let me try and think of a number three. Number three is just be genuine. Remember, everybody's here to help. Sometimes you're going to get referrals. Sometimes you're not. But if you go in there with figures like, I want to make X amount of dollars this year from referrals from the chamber, I want, put the finances aside. Work from the heart.
It's interesting that you said that because I had a different interview with another chamber founder, and he basically said, you shouldn't go into a chamber looking for business. You should go into the chamber to make relationships. Would you agree with that sentiment?
Yeah, friends, relationships, business comes. Sometimes, I mean, one of my referrals partners, we've been friends years. It took
Hmm.
2, 3, 4 years of going to a networking event every Monday, Monday of the month, and finally it paid off. But before that, I was same thing. I'm here for friends, here to learn, here to meet. If you go in there, trying to hunt like a shark and you don't get anything to eat, a lot of times, you get upset or you stop going, you don't be consistent. Do it for the right reasons. Business is great, but also people do business with who they like.
No, yeah, I totally agree. I went to a chamber of commerce way before the pandemic, and at that time I was single, and I was part of all these different networking groups because I was dating my wife, and she's like, "You need to entertain yourself because I'm going to college still." I'm like, "Oh, it's all good." So I went to this one, and every meeting I would go to, he would come up, hand me his business card, give me the sales pitch of like what he was selling, and like I was like, okay, thank you for sharing that. How's your day going? And it was like it was almost like a movie I saw with Drew Barrymore with like short term memory loss, where it was sort of like
50
okay,
Gates.
yes, especially for, like it was like, hi, how are you doing? And you're like, do you not remember? You gave me a business card the last meeting, and you went through the same sales pitch. Um, I never really felt like I had a relationship with that individual because it was sort of
Who
like,
are you? What do you do? Who are you? What do you do? Who are you? What do you do? Cool. Send me business. Cool. What's your name again?
yeah,
There's a lot of everybody does things different. That's just not how I roll.
yeah, same here. I don't do that either. I'm all about the relationship, and nobody's perfect. But at the same time, it's all about growing and having those relationships. And I think you're on point by saying that. Is like if you're struggling, just look back at your fundamentals. And I think that's a great way to end this episode. And Travis, thank you so much for being on the show. I
My
thoroughly
pleasure,
enjoyed
sir.
it. Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. To everyone that's tuned in, thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you have a blessed day. Be safe. Take care. This episode was made possible by Complete Wellness Medical Centers. Not feeling well? Stop by and schedule an appointment with them. They can help you out. This episode was made and produced by i4 Web Services. Visit i4webservices.com to learn more.